focus on standing poses today, but we're gonna lie on the back to start. So what I wanna think of is, let me demonstrate first and then you can figure out what you need. So this is just a backup for something at the top of the mat in case you have tight shoulders. So you can use a folded blanket or you can use a bolster. I would say, Janet, that a folded blanket would be good for you just to back off of a hypermobility, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So what I'm going to do is take this block upright like this and put it between my feet. So I'm lining my feet up and finding my parallel, and then I'm going to recline onto my back, not onto whatever I put there. That prop is there because now we're going to do upward arms here. And the idea is, if you are anchoring your scapula and you have straight elbows and your hands are really like in line with your shoulders, you may find that the range of motion ends at some point. If you find that your range of motion ends and you're doing like bending the elbows or lifting your ribs to get your hands down, don't. That's what the prop is for. So you build up the floor over your head to meet your range. Right, so I'm really working on keeping my elbows really straight, and then once my hands land there, I turn the palms up. Now for me, I don't need the support. If you go all the way to the floor with your shoulders down and you keep your elbows straight, I'm noticing it is a little hard for me to get one side down. It took a little longer, right? So that's the idea, okay? So it's better to use the prop, raise the arms, and work on stretching the muscles than just kind of letting your form go and hanging out in the flexibility of your joints. So if you're not sure, just put the prop there to start, and like what I did, you could just slide it away. You know, for some people, it's like a bolster I put there. Jenna, put that blanket pretty far off the mat. You're very tall. For me, I can leave it on the mat. I still fit. So you figure out your sort of size and proportions alongside your mat. So put the block upright between your feet and rotate your feet into the block to start. And look at your toes, spread them out, point them straight up. And then you can use your hands, you don't have to do a sit-up. Recline, you see what I mean? Yeah, you're very tall, so you take up the whole mat, Janet. So you just push that blanket far back with your hands. That's right. And now put your hands down by the hips again, and let's organize your feet. So what it's gonna be like is the inner big toe, inner heel are moving away from your groin. The pinky toe side of your foot is moving up to the greater trochanter, which is that outer thigh bump, right? On the outer hip, right? And you rotate your thighs in. So for some of you, it may feel not that easy, and it may feel different on the right or the left. That's just fine. Then, starting with the hands by the hips with straight elbows, lift the hands to the ceiling only, shoulder height. And in this moment, look at your palms. Stretch your fingers and feel like you're holding like a really big yoga block between your hands, and feel the scapula on the floor and kind of let go there. Let the gravity take hold of the scapula. Feel the upper arm sinking into the shoulder sockets. And then let's mindfully reach the arms over the head, really focusing on that sensibility of the symmetry of your arms, the stretch of the elbows, and the scapula on the floor. Personally, I have to work really hard to not just fall into my flexibility. So I'm working my arms, and you'll see if you need the prop or not, up to you. And then you're rotating your legs into the block. And once your hands have reached the floor, one thing is observing, did your hands reach at the same time? It's just like an internal observation for yourself. And now let's rotate the palms so that they're facing the ceiling. And the feeling is your palms are wide and then your scapula are wide. So you're kind of mimicking those two things, and you're rotating your legs in, hugging the block, spreading the toes and stretching your legs. Look straight at the ceiling, eye level, so your neck is relaxed. And let's take a few more breaths here, in and out through your nose, arriving into your practice. Keep going for that internal rotation of your legs, as if the block were actually between the upper legs, letting the inner feet find your block. what I feel is that one foot is so easily lined up on the block and one foot is going in and out, in and out away from the block, meaning that side for me is the harder one to keep into the parallel rotation. Great. Let's keep our arms nice and long. Stretch those triceps. Feel the scapula down, the ribs down. You're trying not to arch your ribs. And then you're going to leave that block between the feet, and your foot is going to kind of glide along the block as you do alternating leg lifts. So you're going to reach your right leg long and off the floor. It goes up about a little above the block and exhale down. So it's not very high, but it's a sense of traction, and then left and down. And the feeling is you're pulling your thigh out of your hip, right. So pull that leg out and down, and it's turned in and left. So does your foot glide and slide along the block on the way up and down? And right. And down. Head in the center. Arms stretching long. Left. And down. Let's do it 2 more times each side. Right. And down. Pelvis is level. Try not to tilt. Left. And down. Right. And down. And left. And down and rest, and take a moment and stretch everything, both feet, both arms. Breathe in. Excellent. Let's reach the arms back to the ceiling first, and then lower the hands all the way down by the hips. Turn the palms up and flop your legs out. Take a mini Shavasana. Feel the effects of the pose. Hopefully noticing a little prana flowing through the body. And maybe just observing what you sensed about your own asymmetries within the shoulders and the legs and hips. Good. Now we're going to do one more observation. So that exercise, what we were doing is working on pulling out the hip, like finding length and the traction there. The next one we're going to do is the opposite. So working on how to find the flexion of the hip. So let's do it one at a time first. We're going to bend the right knee, and with your hands, you're going to hold the right leg. If it's comfortable, you can go over your knee like this. If it's hard on your knee, you can go under your knee like this. And now the idea is use both hands and try to find the symmetry in the shoulders. And what we're going to do is you're going to think of pointing your sits bone to the wall opposite your head as you let your knee fall in towards the chest in a parallel rotation. That's right. So you're working on finding the deep hip flexion without any weight bearing and without actually using your leg muscles. So we're using the weight of the arms, not even your arm muscles that much either, but like gravity. So those shoulders are really relaxed to the floor. And then we'll float that leg down and stretch it out. And then the left leg. So once your hands get the leg, see if you can then relax those leg muscles, left leg. The bottom leg is totally relaxed at this point. Yeah, your foot's totally relaxed. And then find your parallel rotation. Well, that's challenging, isn't it? And then using the weight of the hands to help you deepen the crease of the hip. And what we're trying to observe is, can you sense your left sits bone? In this position, when we're lying down, the sits bone is pointing the same direction as the soles of your feet, right? And when you have your knee flexed up like this, that's what we're aiming for. So if that feels like it's not possible, lessen how much you pull your leg in, right? Let your thigh move away from the chest if you feel like your sits bone is beginning to point to the ceiling. That's not what we want. Okay, let's float that leg down. And you can notice any observations if one of those legs, the flexion was more challenging than the other or easier than the other. Now we'll do both legs so we find a sense of symmetry. And the feeling we want is both knees bent. You're feeling the sensibility of both thighs parallel. So I'm using my hands to help that parallel. Really rotate them in and bring them together as much as you can as well. And then where are your sits bones pointing? We don't want to pull the knees into the chest so much that you round your body like a ball. That's another stretch. I like that one, but we're not doing that right now. What we're trying to do is actually make a long line from your head to the tail. So feel that lumbar curve. Imagine both sits bones pointing to the wall away from the head. Breathe in and breathe out. I'm really using my hands so that I'm not engaging the muscles in the front of my thigh in particular, or on my outer hip in particular. Okay, and then we'll easily float the feet to the floor. All right, excellent. Now you can keep your knees bent because we'll roll to the side now and use the hands to come up. And we're gonna come up into an Uttanasana with the feet apart. And I'll show you what I wanna do here. I'm gonna do another exploration here. I'm gonna turn around, sorry for my butt. But it'll be a clear way to demonstrate. So, I typically teach this as people come up to standing, right? So we just give our backs a little stretch. But what I want to do here, again, is observe like one leg at a time. And what we're gonna do here with our hands down, just use blocks if you'd like, is we're gonna hang for a bit, and then we're gonna shift all the weight to the right leg, and just notice what that feels like. Like, oh, I'm standing only on the right. I mean, you have your hands. So you're kind of like a tripod, right? And then just put that down. And what I want to think of is the feeling of that hip socket and that sits bone. And I'm trying to keep the sits bone. See, the sits bone doesn't know where to go. My sits bone's really pointing to the side. So that was a good observation for me, right? So that I want to try to get that sits bone right over its own heel. That was surprisingly challenging on that side. Okay, so go ahead, you come onto the hands and knees. I'm gonna go back to my 2 feet for a moment. I'm just gonna stay facing this way. Feel free to use the blocks if you think you might want them. So first, let's do what we were just doing on the floor with that block between the feet and find your internal rotation. Feel that exploration that we just did for the hip flexion, right? Thinking of your sits bones pointing to the ceiling, and envision in your mind's eye right here that you're on a piece of graph paper, right? So the sits bone is lined up directly over each heel, its own heel. Then maintain that feeling and stand only on your right leg. You may need to shift your hands to the right a little. I just did that. And now stand on that right leg. Just bend your left knee so it's not effort to lift your left leg. And envision the right sits bone over the center of the right heel. Envision the hip socket. Good. We're not aiming for anything except for exploration, so it's observation. And then place your foot down. This is not a yoga pose, okay? This is just exploration. Rotate in back to the center. Find your symmetry. But I feel like that's really interesting now on my right leg. I feel like my right leg learned something from that. All right, let's do the left now. Feel free to shift your hands over if you need. Okay, so try not to lift your right leg very high, because what that's going to do is make you lift your hip. So it's just about the weight shift, right? And now think of left sits bone lined up with your left heel, center of the heel. Use your mind's eye, your imagination. The sits bone still doesn't know where to go, so I'm just going to imagine it. And then now my muscles are firing up a little bit extra. All right, when that's enough for you, you put your foot down. You're always welcome to stay longer or come out sooner than I guide you if it's too long. And now in your regular Uttanasana with the feet apart, just sense your sits bone right over the center of the heel. And let's mindfully look forward. It's a long time to hang over, so let's hang out in an upward facing for a moment. I'm gonna actually grab a couple blocks here to get myself a little higher, like halfway up. And take a few breaths there. I can feel my pressure's not regulated yet, so I know I'm gonna get dizzy. If you're not dizzy and you wanna come up, go ahead. If you're like me and you feel a little dizzy, you can make your way up to the fingertips, lessen the weight on the hands. And when you're ready, keep breathing naturally and through your nose so it's more regulated, and on an inhale, you come up. And then you keep breathing. That's one way to regulate if you tend to get dizzy. Right, which I know you do, right? Did it work? Yeah, so I feel like coming up halfway really helps, and you stay there for a while, because your pressure needs to change when your head's hanging over for so long. All right, excellent. Now we're gonna work on Tadasana with our blocks and a belt or 2 belts, as you might like. So I don't know if you want 1 or 2. That will be for your arms. So you'll need 1 for the arms for sure, and 2 blocks, 1 for the feet, 1 for the upper legs. And then I'm gonna do my personal one to help my bunions belt my toes. So because I do all this teaching every day, and I do so much of my practice, which is all about learning about yourself, I'm noticing my bunions getting so big. Speaking of aging, Jen and I were talking about aging and what, that's one thing I've noticed, like, wow, that bunion is large. So I better do my bunion saving work here. Okay, so let's take a moment. Yeah, you don't have to break your belt quite yet. Let's just take a moment in Tadasana with your blocks and envision what you were doing on the floor. In particular, the sense of your feet around the first block, right? The big toe forward, the inner heel in, the inner ankles up. And then find that internal rotation and see, can you find that sense of the traction of the hip? That's what we were working on in the leg lifts, right? Okay, so then arms shoulder height, breaking out to your belt. Feel the memory of being on the floor and that sense of the gravity, right? So we're only using as much energy as is necessary, not too much, not too little. Jenna, take the belt further up on your forearm, so it's not at your wrist exactly. It's a little, yeah, the wrist bones are actually quite delicate. All right, and then inhale, reach the arms up. I was thinking about those delicate wrist bones. I saw a news story, I think it's a pitcher, a baseball pitcher. Might be one of the Mets pitchers. He hurt his hamate bone because of his pitching. That is one of the wrist bones, and we actually want our hamate. You can talk about it in our downward dog. We want the weight to be on that hamate. Okay, so hug in your blocks. Break out to the belt. Stretch your triceps. Stretch your biceps. Envision what you did on the floor so that your back body gets very long, very wide, and you're trying to hug that energy right into the midline, right? So nothing is falling forward, nothing's falling back, nothing extra right or left. I keep envisioning those big floodlights, that shine the light in the sky. That's the energy that we want to be right here. We want to feel that energy through the body. Beautiful. Keep the energy in the body. Let's exhale and just lower the arms with the belt. We'll move the belt to the side to keep the blocks, and we'll do Uttanasana here. Your choice, you can have the hands on the hips, or if you want to make it more vigorous, I'm going to do another upward arms, and lift the chest, and lift the chin, and look up. And then exhale and pull the back all the way forward into Uttanasana, dropping the head. Now, we have a little extra feedback here to feel the organization of the legs. You have your blocks. If you're like me, working on the bunions, you have the belts. But everybody has the floor, so spread your toes, spread your heels. So you're not trying to make your heel like a pinpoint. You're trying to make your heel like a horseshoe. Feel that crescent shape. Then, what did it feel like to do that exploration? Can you feel the relationship from each sits bone to each center of the heel? Use the blocks then to help you understand the muscularity involved in creating the alignment. And then relax the neck, the jaw, and follow your breath in and out through the nose. You're trying not to hold yourself up in your arms, but rather using the connection of the arms to the floor to anchor the shoulder blades up your back. Excellent. Inhale and look forward. Coming up through the upward facing again, walking the hands forward in front of the shoulders, lift the chin and the chest. Mindfully bring the hands to the hips to inhale up all the way. Stretch the arms by the sides. Feel the Tadasana, feel the effects of the pose, the sense of the prana rising up. All right, and as we're warming up now, I'm able to feel a little more internal rotation. Okay, let's now set up for Adho Mukha and Urdhva Mukha and Chaturanga using the support of the block, or blocks, depending on how high you'd like to work. I think for you, Janet. Oh no, those are all the same.
Okay.
For you, the forest green and the striped blue are a good combo for you. Yeah, height-wise. Do you like my color things? Or I could think
You're right.
it's almost like sage. It's a little dark for sage.
Like an army green.
Oh yeah, like an olive,
Yeah.
army, khaki. I have to read more Pottery Barn catalogs to get better color names.
Yes.
Here we go. I'm on my peacock blue. And now let's prepare our hands in front. Middle finger pointing straight ahead. Thumb and index finger on the floor, and you'll tuck the toes. Inhale to pick up your knees, and exhale to press the thighs back. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Downward facing dog. Now, accumulate the information that you've learned so far. With the heels pulling back and the toes pointing forward. Imagine the blocks between the legs, and then imagine the space and the articulation in the hips that we were exploring earlier on the floor. Obviously, it is more challenging here with the weight bearing, but see if you can find that sensibility of the flexion of the hip and the sharp lift of each sits bone, and then line each sits bone up with the center of the heel. Breathe in and breathe out. Urdhva Mukha. Bring your tailbone forward now, changing your spine. Let the pelvis rest on your support. Push through the floor, lift up through your biceps and triceps. Lift through the navel. Press the legs to the ceiling on the half toe position of the foot. And then keep those legs straight as we exhale. Chaturanga, bending the elbows to the sides, looking straight ahead. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha, lifting the heart. Roll the shoulders down the back. Exhale, Adho Mukha. Think of the arms as we stretch them over the head, both on the floor and with the belt, and feel like your biceps rotate forward and your triceps hug into the bone to help you stretch through your armpits. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha. Now stay over the center of your foot. Really stretch your feet. This is really good for your feet, no matter how uncomfortable it feels. It's really good. Exhale, Chaturanga. Try to keep the weight on the thumb and index fingers so you don't roll out to the pinky. Urdhva Mukha. So at the base of the thumb and the index finger, but that bone you feel is the hamate. Adho Mukha. We want the weight on the hamate, not in the center of the wrist. Breathe in. Breathe out. Lift your sits bones. Rest your head. Breathe through the nose. And let's do one more cycle like this. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha. Be even on your block. I keep noticing my pelvis doesn't want to be in the center of the block, so I'm making my little adjustments so I'm really symmetrical. Chaturanga. Even weight on your hands. Urdhva Mukha. Adho Mukha. Spread your toes forward. Pull your heels back. Make your pose as even as you can, right, left. And then go up to that crease of the hips. Sharpen those sits bones up to the ceiling. And then when you're ready, you'll come down and take a rest. Adho Mukha Virasana, bending your knees to the floor. Your knees apart, big toes together, and let your weight shift back. Rest your head wherever you like. I like being on the block after that series. So now in this non-weight bearing pose, see if you can go with gravity. Let the weight of the pelvis sink down. Feel those hips crease, just like you were doing on the floor on your back. This is just slightly more challenging than that version. Okay, we're gonna inhale, come up. I wanna do one more exploration for our hip and get some more mobility in our upper leg muscle before we go on. But I'll describe again, this bone is your hamate, And then I have to admit, I can't remember all the wrist. I know all the wrist bone names, but I forget the order. There is a medical acronym. They make a sentence or something. You know, there's 8 bones here. The idea in our weight bearing, I didn't mean to talk about this today, but since that news story reminded me of that pitcher.
Shortstop.
Oh, he's a shortstop. All right, well, I don't know how he was throwing his ball. He must be hitting, there's a little notch on the hamate called the hook of the hamate. It sticks out a little, so his must stick out a little extra. We have 4 bones, 2 on this level, and then 2 a little more up into the hand. That's actually what makes up your wrist. Right here, it's very tiny, teeny tiny. And when we weight bear in Adho Mukha, Urdhva Mukha, Chaturanga, we'll do it in our sun salutation. That is where we are weight bearing, right there on these 2 lines of bones, right? 2 and 2. And in the center, when you relax your hand in the center, there's this little notch, right? That is referred to as the carpal tunnel. Hence, how people get carpal tunnel syndrome, right? When they're on keyboards and they collapse their wrist for too long, right? So when we are weight bearing on the hands, we are actually trying to maintain this lift of the carpal tunnel all the time. So we're trying not to push down in the center of the wrist, right? That will smush the tunnel. And what the tunnel does is it gives us this passageway for all our nerve endings into the hands, and the passageway for the tendons that attach our muscles from the forearms to the muscles in the hands. Right? So anyway, that's I feel like that's a really helpful tool, especially if you have hyper flexible wrists. Really helpful. When you do a lot of weight bearing like I do, I notice if my wrists are starting to hurt me after a while, I have to know I'm definitely crashing onto my carpal tunnel. All right? But before we get into that, I'm going to show you one more little mobility practice. All right? So we're going to do it in a lunging position. You can use blocks like this. I have students who struggle to get their hands to the floor, but my idea is that I'm trying not to move my hands very much, so that will determine how far your leg goes. And we're going to go back and forth between an action like this where I'm lunging, and then I'm going to push back and stretch. Now, this flexibility is going to be really different for everybody. And you may feel a stretch even with your knee bent. It doesn't matter about the knee, but what I want to work on is this hip flexion, right? So hip flexion, this one will be easier, right? Because our knee is bent, and this one will be harder because the knee is straight. And we're going to really think of trying to pull that sits bone back to work on the opening of the hamstring, right? Just like we did on the floor. All right? I'm getting the lovely sun that I get for 20 minutes a day, and it's clear the winter's rising because in the winter it's like 5 minutes a day, and in the summer it's 20. So here we'll get this lovely little ray of sun for it's starting to fade. Here we go. That was it. Okay. All right, I'm on the north side of the block, not a lot of sun. So here you go. You're going forward and you're feeling that nice crease of your hip to your sits bone, and then exhale, going back and pulling the sits bone back. I am lifting up my toes to give myself a flexion here that helps me lift, like really, then you see, you'll feel your leg more, right? And I'm working on parallel. Pull that outer hip back, and we're gonna go back and forth. It's about the movement more than a position, right? So forward, and then back, and forward, and back. And I had a student who's a little stiffer than I am, and I had him really moving his spine like this the other day. Maybe that will feel good for you too. And back. Personally, yeah, I think it feels good, I guess. And forward, and back. And then we'll finish by coming forward, and then taking that foot back and going to the other side. If it's bothering your knee, yeah, you can always get a little padding. That fold is perfect, Janet. Yeah, use that fold. And just put it right across your mat. This way. There you go. I have a little double pad here, so I have extra padding for my knee. So first we want to come forward, and you can maybe notice the difference of the sides. This one is my harder side for sure. Both my left hamstring and my right psoas are the tighter muscles, so you're feeling the front of the right, the back of the left. Forward, and then back. And forward, and you're trying to be even in your hip. Try not to let your hips side, do a little side lean. Try to go straight back. And forward. Feel the hip crease, that's what I'm really focusing on. And feel your left sits bone, that's what we're working on. It's the left side here. Forward. And back. Right leg is trying to be parallel. Left leg is definitely parallel. One more time, or you can do it more times than that if you'd like. And then we'll finish by coming forward whenever you're ready. Good. And then coming back. Take your foot back. Tuck the toes. Prepare the hands. And let's envision, since we just talked about it, those 4 bones creating the carpal tunnel. Feel your weight before you go up in your Adho Mukha. And then see if you can maintain it as you go up. Tuck the toes, stretch your knees. And now see what you learned from that little lunging pose. See the movement in your hips, the lift of your hamstrings to your sits bones. And then we'll look forward. You can step or jump forward to your hands, feet together if you'd like. Uttanasana for a moment. And then we'll mindfully look forward. Bring the hands to the hips and inhale and come up to stand. All right, let's clear our mats. Let's warm up a little bit more, even though the heat's really pumping and it's almost like Bikram in here. I'm definitely a little schwitzy, which feels good. You're gonna come to the front of the mat for our full sun salutation. Was that interesting to think about the carpal tunnel? Yeah, it's really helpful. Okay, hold on, let me straighten my mat out. Try to practice on a straight mat, always. Roll the legs together as best as you can in your Tadasana. Stretch your arms to your sides. And then inhale, let's sweep the arms all the way up. Lift the heart. And exhale, reach the back forward, diving all the way over the legs. Let the head go down and the hands go down. Look forward and step or jump your feet back. Adho Mukha. Find that symmetry in your legs. Find that lift in the arms for the carpal tunnel. Inhale forward to Urdhva Mukha, this time rolling all the way over to the tops of your feet and lift your heart. Roll the shoulders back. And then exhale, press back. Plank or knees, chest and chin to the floor or Chaturanga. If you're in Chaturanga, lift to upward dog. If you're in the other, you can go to Cobra. And then tuck the toes, exhale, and press back, Adho Mukha. Lift the heels, look forward. Step or jump. Uttanasana. Look forward, reach the arms forward by the ears. Inhale, come up. Exhale, bring the hands into the prayer. And arms to the sides. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, dive over. Look forward, step or jump. Adho Mukha. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha. Exhale, knees, chest, chin, or Chaturanga. Urdhva Mukha or Cobra. Adho Mukha. Look forward. Jump or step, Uttanasana. Inhale and up. Exhale, hands into the prayer. Arms to the sides. One more cycle. Inhale, lift. Exhale, over. Step or jump, Adho Mukha. Urdhva Mukha. Carpal tunnel. Lift your muscles. Knees, chest, chin. Chaturanga. Urdhva Mukha or Cobra. Adho Mukha. Step or jump. Uttanasana. Reach forward, inhale up. hands into the prayer. Arms to the sides, Tadasana. Look straight ahead, take a few breaths, notice your prana. Good, you can stay right where you are. I'm just gonna step back a little to be in the center of my mat. And we'll go into Vrikshasana, tree pose. Let's start with the hands on the hips. Rotate your feet all the way together. See if you can get the mount of the big toe and the big toe to touch. If that means your heels are slightly apart, which I think it might be for you, the shape of your feet and legs, Janet, that might be the case, then that's just fine. With the feet all the way together, try to really balance your weight from the feet all the way up to the hips, and then, without changing anything, easily let your right knee bend, the heel will come up, then turn out the right thigh. So already, Janet, your body opened a little. Try not to move your body only in your thigh, so it might not go very far. And then you bring your foot up to the inside of the leg. Now, if it's easy to bring your hand to the foot and then bring it up higher, you can do that. If that's not easy, just leave your foot wherever it is and push the foot and the leg together like a prayer position, and then bring your hands to an actual prayer position if you'd like. And we're working on finding that same easy crease of that right hip, right? To find that right sits bone pointing right to the floor. Then if you want, you can bring your arms up over the head. If it's easy to keep them in a prayer, you can keep them. If that makes your shoulders uncomfortable, separate them. Or if you can't keep your elbows straight, separate your hands. Look straight ahead, breathe through the nose. And then exhale, we'll bring the hands back, lower the foot down, lower the arms down. Some people find that the arms up helps them with the pose because it pulls their weight up. And then some people find it makes their balance harder. I find the latter, personally. I find it harder to balance. Feel the effects of the pose. Hands on the hips. Let's do the second side. So no change in the body. Easily just bend that left leg and turn out the thigh. So no change. Then you bring the foot up. You bring it higher if you can. And then you bring your hands to your prayer. And you're trying to find that ease of the left hip that we've been working on throughout our practice so far. And then if you want, you bring the arms up. Relax the gaze, try to look straight ahead. Oh look, we brought the sun out again. That's nice. Excellent. If the arms are up, you bring them back down first. That's the order. Then the foot down. And then the arms all the way down. Tadasana. Excellent. So next we're going to do Uttita Padangusthasana, which is the extended hand to big toe pose. I'm going to show the holding first, and then I'll talk you through it and give you the variation. So the full pose is where you wrap the first 3 fingers, they call it the yogi toe lock, around your big toe. And I'm going to pull the leg in and find a parallel position and my shoulders relaxed and square. Then I extend the leg forward, part 1. I open the leg, part 2. Oh, I'm a little wobbly, sorry, this is my hard side. And then I go back to part 1. We bend the knee and we put the foot down. We're gonna definitely hold it a lot longer than that, obviously, but I wanted to just do it quickly. So if you can't reach your big toe, you use the belt. Yeah, I think, Jenna, if you want to use the wall, you're gonna have the hand at the wall, the opposite hand from the foot that you're using in space. So we're gonna lift the right leg first. So you're gonna put your left hand at the wall if you want it, okay? So you'll have your back to me.
I'm gonna try.
Okay, so here's how to use the loop of the belt. First, make a small-ish loop that just goes around your foot, and watch how I'll do it. I often find that people put the foot in the belt like this, and then they have like this huge belt along the way. It's better to bring your leg up as high as you can, and then clasp the belt, and then organize the shoulder and the hip. So we're trying to be parallel in the hip. Then when the foot extends, it will slide. I should show you from the side. It will slide on the belt as you need it. But it is harder to get your hand more forward on the belt once your foot is in the air, right? So I'll do the first side with the belt to show you what I mean. So that's not the way you want to do it. Okay, so let's do it like this. Yeah, just hold the loop in your hand. So you're gonna have to work on your balance, right? Was that your plan? Okay, because you don't have anything to hold on to.
No.
Okay, good. You're also gonna step a little bit more to that side of your mat. That's right, 'cause you have those long legs, just in case we don't want you to hit the wall. So first, with your balance, you're gonna pick up your leg in the air and then put the foot in the loop. Right, then, yep, that's the hard part. Okay, then you pull your leg in and your shoulder back, parallel leg, knee inside, arm inside the knee. Sorry, said it wrong. Parallel, rotate that leg in, bring it to the middle. Yes, now extend your foot forward with the hand in the belt. Your hand will just slide back on the belt wherever you need it. And then straight leg, please. Lift your back. Stand nice and tall. Breathe in and breathe out. Exactly. If you're at the wall, you play touch and go with the wall to play with your balance. Open to the side, part 2. Where's the sensibility of that right hip? I know, it's so hard. Back to part 1. So all that hip exploration work we did is right here. Oh man, I thought it would be easier with the belt. I felt a little harder with the belt. Back to part 1, and then bend the knee, take the loop off your foot, and then take a few breaths. So some days I have people use the wall to like work on the pose, but you know, if you want to just try to work on your balance, that's also fine, wherever you're at. Okay, second side. Bend the leg, put the loop around your foot. I'm going to do the toe lock. On this side, I have to work on my flexibility. Arm inside the knee first. So now, right here, Janet, stand upright, completely upright. That's right. And now extend the leg. Straighten your arm. Oh, yeah, you let the belt slide out a little bit much. You want a straight elbow. Turn your leg in parallel. Part 2. I'm going to use my second arm to help me balance. This is the way my teacher always did it. Beautiful. Part 1. Where's the hip crease to the sits bone? And then you bend the knee and you float your foot down. And you stand tall. Tadasana. All right. So my teacher teaches that pose and talks about it. There's a supta version where you're lying on your back. And I think she talked about her own practice. She's like, I practiced this on the floor for 5 years, right? In order to even attempt to try to do it standing. So it's pretty challenging to do it standing. But you know, all we can do is work on it. I have to admit mine used to be a little bit better. So I need to work on mine a little bit more. All right. With that same sense of mobility of the hip, right, we're gonna now keep working through our standing poses. So let's get ready for Utthita Trikonasana. I'm gonna grab my blocks for support. I usually use this height. I have begun to work a little bit more on my range lately. Yeah, you can turn them the other facet, Janet, they're like this instead of that. Yeah. And then standing in the center of the mat. So in the early days of my practice, I would just put my hand on the floor, piece of cake. And then I've begun to work on trying to gain more and more support. So I've had my blocks higher and higher. Now I'm trying to work on my range again. So we'll see where I get to today. Standing with the feet together first. Let's inhale and bring the hands in front of the heart. Exhale, step or jump about 4.5 feet wide. And you turn your toes in and your heels out. Arms stretch out to the side as you jump. Find your parallel position here. Even more toes in and heels out. right? And then you feel your navel up and your tail down in the center. I've been noticing this a lot lately, that people jump, and when they're in this part of the stance, they're a little like this, right? They're a little piked in their hips. So what we want to really work a little extra, get those muscles, and what that's going to feel like is it's really opening the front of the hip, which tends to get extra tight, especially if we sit a lot. Okay, so now turn the right toes out and the left toes in. Line up your right heel at least with the left instep. If not your toes, you're facing that wall, Janet. Face that wall. That's right. Bring your right foot towards the wall. Good. Bring your right hip towards the wall and your left hip to the mantle. Exactly. Your left foot's a little extra turned in. You were just setting up for a different pose, it looks like. Then arms wide on your back. Moving in that right hip, the way we've been exploring all practice, let's exhale and go over to the right side, Utthita Trikonasana. You want the block to be somewhat close to your leg for you to access that. Now press your right big toe and your right inner heel down. Lift up the right kneecap. And then take the right buttock forward as you open your left pelvis back. And turn your chest, turn your gaze, look up at your left hand, flatten your left palm towards the wall in front of you. That's the way your chest is facing. And you breathe in and breathe out. Feel that movement in the right hip, sharpen the right sits bone, away from the right heel. Then look straight ahead, move your block slightly back. Inhale, come up with the arms wide to the side and rotate your toes back to parallel. Arrange your feet so that they're really symmetrical. And if your arms are getting tired, rest the hands on the hips. Organize the pelvis the way we were just looking at. And then we'll do the second side. Reach the arms wide to the side, left toes out, heel forward, right toes in, heel out. Right, bring the back of the left buttock forward, the front of the right pelvis back. That's the direction where it's not easy to move. And then exhale, we're moving around the left thigh as we go over. Press your left big toe and the inner heel down. And then lift up the front of your left thigh. Lift that kneecap up. Lift your muscles up. And then turn your back. Look up at your right thumb. The back of the left hip goes forward. The front of the right hip goes back. Can you find that sense of space in the left hip socket that we were exploring? Don't worry if it's challenging. It's for me, when this left side doesn't really want to find what I found earlier. It's more challenging. All right, we'll look straight ahead, coming out, bring the block back slightly. Inhale, come up, arms to the sides. Rotate your toes forward, step or jump your feet together. Tadasana. Quiet the mind. Relax your gaze. So even though you're seeing what's in front of you, you don't have to take in what you see. That's one way to help keep your mind relaxed. Okay, Utthita Trikonasana again, moving into Ardha Chandrasana, the half moon pose. Yeah, do you remember that transition, or should I demonstrate really quickly? Yeah, I can demonstrate. It'll give me a little time to figure out my spacing in here. So first, we teach a trick the way we were just practicing. Then I'm gonna look down and bend the knee, transfer my weight. So I shorten my stance just a little, so then it's easier for me to lift up my leg as I straighten the right. I just made it to the wall. Oh, what a lovely prop. The wall is such a nice prop for your head if you have that set up. I've actually done this in yoga class in the studio, sort of made myself to a wall so that I can give myself a little help. And then we'll go back from Ardha Chandrasana into our Utthita Trikonasana. I needed quite a bit of adjustment, and then we'll do our one more moment of triangle before we come up. Okay? Oh, if you have a setup like this, you'll probably want, like, when you go forward, Jen, I'm gonna make your second stance higher so that when you transfer your block, you can go up onto a second block. Yeah, if this pose is a little bit more challenging for you, okay? Let's start in Tadasana. Quiet your mind. Don't worry that you're gonna stand on one leg in a second. Keep your mind relaxed. Inhale, hands in front of the heart. Exhale, step or jump 4.5 feet. Turn the toes in and the heels out. Turn the right toes out and the heel forward. Turn your hips even more, Janet. Nope, the other way. Yeah, the way that it doesn't want to go, it's always the way. Your right heel has to go to the wall more. That's right. Now it's easier to move your hips. That looks better. Exhale, over to the right side. We teach a trick. Widen the back, look up. Let's take 2 breaths here. Lift the energy up your legs. Find that space in your hips. Now we're gonna transition. You can look down, you can put your top hand down if you want. Bend your right knee, shorten your stance, bring the left foot forward and the right hand forward. Then simultaneously straighten the right leg and lift your left leg up. Reach your left arm to the ceiling when you can. It's easier if you flex your left heel to lift it up in the air. Then you try to turn your back and look up. Glad I have the wall because I'm almost falling over. Breathe in, breathe out. Back to teach a trick. Bend your right knee. Reach your left foot way back behind you. Find your last triangle pose. Really expand your body. Bring your block much closer, Janet. Couple inches. That's right. Now lift your left side body away from the right. You got a cramp? No. You're working correctly then. Look forward. Inhale and come up. Turn the toes forward. Let's just take a few breaths in our wide stance. So if this part of your hip cramps in either one of those poses, it means you're doing a good job. Because those are very dominant muscles. And when we try to turn the leg into parallel and we're in flexion, they are a little bit of a bully and they're like, wait, we want to do all the work. And when we get into our correct, I should say efficient alignment, they start to cramp and they threaten. So it is, I always say it's a good sign. Even though it doesn't feel that way, I know. That's okay. All right, yeah, great. Second side. Oh, Janet, yeah, with the hand that you put your support on for Ardha Chandrasana, you want to make sure that it's lined up slightly behind your little toe, not in line with your foot, right? In line with your foot, perhaps, is the classically correct pose, but it's harder. If you put your hand slightly behind your foot, see, behind is the way always your chest is facing. It's way easy to remember. It gives you a little bit like a tripod, right? So you're not on a balance beam. You have 2 tracks there. You have your skis, thinking of our Olympic sports. Okay, so let's get ready. Inhale, hands in front of the heart. Exhale, step or jump wide. Turn the toes in and the heels out. Stretch your arms wide. Left toes out, right toes in. Stretch your legs. Exhale over Utthita trick. Open the back, look up. Let's take a few breaths here through the nose. And then move into Ardha Chandrasana. Bend your left knee. You can put the right hand down if you want to rest it. Shift your weight forward, shorten your stance. Then inhale, simultaneously lift your right leg as you straighten your left leg, and then turn and reach your arm up to the ceiling. Lift your right thigh up. Turn your gaze, look up. Breathe in, breathe out. coming out. Bend the left knee, track your knee. Reach your right foot way behind you. One more, Utthita Trikonasana, stretching your legs, stretching your arms, open your back. And then coming up, move the block, look forward, inhale, rotate your toes in, step or jump together. Tadasana. Relax your gaze, look forward, line up your feet. Find the eye level with your eyes on your horizon. Look at your eye level. And then just relax the focus so that you are looking forward, but you don't have to take in what you see. So trying to still the pupils is a really challenging part of our yoga practice that will help quiet your mind. Virabhadrasana 2. Inhale, float the hands in front of the heart. Exhale, step or jump, 5 feet apart. Toes in, heels out, arms wide. Right toes out, heel forward, left toes in, heel out. Keep your hips that way as much as you can. Janet, yeah. Exhale, bend the right knee into the square. You want to stack up your right shin over the center of your right foot. Turn in your left thigh. So here's the work that we were doing in that hip exploration earlier in our practice, trying to find that right sits bone here, pointing right to the floor with the back wide and long, stretch both arms wide, and then only turn the gaze to look to the right. Roll that right knee back. Make sure you're not rolling in the right knee. Again, relaxing your gaze as you're looking towards the right, eyes in line with your own horizon. Inhale, straighten the right knee, look straight ahead, rotate the toes in. Rest the hands if you feel like your shoulders are tired. If not, you're welcome to keep them up. And then we'll do the second side. Reach the arms wide if they were down. Left toes out, heel forward. Right toes in, heel out. Exhale, bend your left knee into the square. Keep tracking your knee so it's not rolling in beyond your big toe, but rolling out to the little toe. And then feel that sense of motion and the flexion in the left hip. That left sits bone wants to sharpen towards the floor, arms wide on the back. Lift the navel, bury your tail, turn your gaze, look to the left. Breathe in, breathe out. Good. Inhale, come up, straighten the knee, rotate your toes in, step or jump your feet together. Tadasana. Utthita Parshvakonasana, extended side angle. We'll move through our warrior 2 and then we'll side bend. And you have your handy blocks still there. Inhale, hands in front of the heart. Exhale, step or jump. Right toes out, left toes in. Just like Vira 2. Exhale, bend your right knee into the square. Feeling that mobility of that right hip. So it should feel really easy in that right hip crease. Yeah, see if you can let the right hip fold even a little more, Janet. Right, exactly. Then keep that right leg in the square. Reach your body over to the right side. Reach for the block if you want to use the block, and then take your left arm over your left ear, palm to the floor. Straighten that left arm like you practiced over your head on the floor. I'm going all the way back to our very first pose. Left side of your body wants to feel like you were on the floor. So stretch your left leg, press the left hip back, and now try to turn your ribs, turn the shoulders, turn your gaze, look up into the left arm. Keep that right hip square. Breathe in. Breathe out. Keep the right knee back to the right arm. Look straight ahead. Let's inhale, come up, stretch your right leg. Rotate the toes forward. We'll go right away to the other side. Left toes out, right toes in. Exhale, bend your left knee into the square. Feel that ease, that fold in the left hip in particular. Make sure your knee is rolling back and not in, and then reach over your left leg. Right arm over the right ear, palm down. So you're trying to find the straight line angle of the right side, right outer foot to the right fingertips. Now, press that right thigh back and turn your waist, turn your ribs. Try to look up into the right arm. Breathe in and breathe out. Keep your left knee turning back. And then coming up, look straight ahead, stretch your left leg, arms wide, turn your toes forward, step or jump your feet together. Tadasana. Can we do one more standing pose? Just one, I promise. I really wanted to get to Parsvottanasana to work on that sense that we were really focusing on earlier in our warm-ups, okay? So for this one, if you want the blocks, we're gonna have them like this to your right side of the mat, like that. So they'll be there for both of your hands together, but we'll jump open and then wind up turning our bodies. And this one, we will wind up facing all the way to your right side of your mat, okay? So let's inhale, hands in front of the heart. Exhale, step or jump your feet wide. Okay, so now this time I'm gonna wind up turning all the way this way to my right. So I'm gonna start by bringing my left heel forward, left heel, yeah, and then lift your toes up, left toes, left, yes. And then turn your back, turn your toes, and you're facing your right side, all the way to your right. Hips squarely facing to your right side of your mat. Yes, now, to get your hips more square, lift your back heel. Turn that left hip forward. Turn the thigh in. Keep your lower leg turned out. And then reach your heel down. Tail is in the center. Oh yes, Janet's grabbing a wedge smartly to have a little support on the back of that calf. Try to keep your feet in line with your own hips, not with your tail, right? So you don't want to be like this. You want to be a little wider. Yes, exactly. One, it will help your balance a little bit, but two, it will also help align your hips more evenly. There you go, Janet. That was a good adjustment. Now, if your balance is really being challenged, your arms to the side. If you want, you can inhale and bring the arms up. Lift the chest, lift the chin, bury the tail. And then exhale, come forward, reach forward. You're gonna bring your hands to the floor or the blocks, upward facing. I think I'll use my blocks today too. Now, here's the work that I wanted to get. The right big toe is down, and where's that right hip? Where's the right sits bone? All that exploration we did earlier. Hopefully now we're also really warmed up after all those standing poses to get the full length of the right hamstring, full flexion of the right psoas. Keep that and exhale, lengthen the body forward over your front leg. Hands go as low as you like. The body is lengthened over your leg, not rounded, but lengthened as much as you can. Breathing in and breathing out. Right, greater trochanter back. Left, greater trochanter forward. Find that organization of the deep flexion of the right hip with the leg in parallel and a straight knee. Excellent. Let's mindfully come up. Lift the chest and the chin. Upward facing again. I'm going to go back to my blocks. Good. And I'm working on really staying organized, so I'm just going to bring my hands back to my hips to inhale, come up. You can always bring your arms up if you want to make it harder for yourself. And then rotate forward, step or jump together. Making it harder for yourself sounds very negative. Saying, I'll say if you want to do it a little more challenging version. My right hamstring's been feeling a little delicate lately, so I didn't do the harder version personally. That was just what I noticed in the moment. So let's shift your props to the other side if you want. Jenna, you can just have face the other way if you want. You don't have to move all your props. You just start facing the other way. Yeah. And inhale, bring the hands in front of the heart. Exhale, step or jump the feet wide. We're gonna end up facing the left side of the mat, your left side. So you begin by moving the right heel forward, and then you lift your right toes, turn towards your left. Lift your right toes up, that's right. Lift your left toes up. You kind of have to do them very quickly in succession. Yeah, and then I love this adjustment where I lift the back heel, and then I'm able to organize that right side of the pelvis more. You could see the adjustment so clearly because it was so out of order for me on this right side. Tailbone forward. Now I send the heel back and down. My foot's still turned out, but I'm trying to really turn in that leg. My stance looks really short. I'm gonna go a little longer. Then arms to the side or over the head. Lift the chest and the chin. Exhale, bend forward. Pull the body forward. Pull the left sit bone back. Lift the chest up, upward facing first. Your hands can be a lot closer to your leg. And then pull your spine in and organize your pelvis. So left greater trochanter back. That right greater trochanter wants to go forward, the tail in the middle, and you're working on finding that deep hip flexion of the left side, lengthening that left sits bone, flexing deeply in the right psoas. Inhale. Exhale, lengthen the body forward over the front leg.
Envision that you're hugging a block between your upper legs and your tailbone's moving to the ceiling. Relax the neck and jaw. Press your left big toe and inner heel down. Try not to roll out on your left foot. Breathing in and breathing out very smoothly. Press your right outer heel back and down. And then inhale, lift the chest and chin. Let's make our way up through the upward facing. You can choose the way you would want to come out of the pose, either arms forward to the side or on the hips. To inhale, come up. And then turn your toes to your right. Step or jump your feet together. Tadasana. All right, after all those standing poses, we are going to compress the leg muscles to each other and sit in Virasana. So in Virasana, I want my knees together and my ankles to go around a block. Eventually you could sit on the floor if you want. Yeah, there's lots of options. I would make the block match that one. So turn it, make them match. So turn those, the 1 inch block. So make them match like this.
Right.
Like this. Don't have them like this.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So turn the dark,
oh,
yes, and then it'll be
the
on the edge. Exactly. Otherwise, those blocks are weird. They're not the right size, but those are what I could find. So the idea is sitting in your Virasana, that you're compressing your legs. It actually looks like you need a little more height because you're really hiking your hip up. So go ahead and use the 2 inch block, which is what we agreed now is the khaki. Khaki green. Okay, so what we're after is the same hip flexion that we've been working on our whole practice. So you're trying to find the tops of your sits bones, the outer shins hugging in, your thighs rotating in, your palms can rest down and you sit up tall, float the head up. Think of lining up your head over your tail. See if you can envision that a little more, Janet. It's going to be a little more forward. Forward. Good. And now I think you're working, Janet, to ground your left sits bone by leaning your body to the left. So think of going up through the spine first. That's right. And then to work on the left side, you want to envision only through your hip, but not the whole body, if that makes sense. There you go. That's better. It's still a little leaning. Yeah, there you go. Good. Now, if you happen to have another block, you're just going to put it right behind you. Yeah. And then we're going to do a little parshva. So let's twist to the right. Your left hand goes to the outside of your legs, and you turn your back to the right. Roll the right shoulder back. And then untwist through the middle. Put your right hand to the outside of your left leg. Put that block real close to you so you're not leaning back for it. And then line up your head and your tail again. So try not to lean back to the block, but twist. That's right, you might not get very far. Reach that right hand, wiggle it around. Yeah, you can grab your leg and then push yourself around to create the twist. Look to the left, use your eyes, turn your head. Inhale and untwist. Hug your legs in. There you go, that's better. All right, I think that left foot is still causing your left hip tightness a bit, right? All right, so let's counter pose to come out of this, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Let's go into your downward facing. Tucking your toes, stretch your legs. Should feel like a nice symmetrical pose after all those standing poses. And you get to open your knees vigorously after the Virasana. What does it feel like up in those hip sockets after all that deep exploration of your hips? All right, and then exhale, come on down. All right, for our rest today, what I think is we'll go into a little version of kind of a supported legs up the wall, okay? I'll show you what I mean. What I'm gonna do is pull my mat directly next to the wall and then take a blanket that's near the wall. Janet, do you wanna use the wall by the tree or do you wanna use the wall over here? Yeah, just lean that up against anything and then you can pull your mat over there. I'll show you what I'm doing and then you can set up. So I just have one blanket like this folded in a rectangle. I sit on the edge of the blanket and then I flip my body over and then I'm gonna kind of wiggle my pelvis onto the blanket comfortably and have my legs straight up the wall and then let my arms just rest to the sides with the palms up. The blanket should be an inch or so away from the wall there. I think I need two, right? Yeah, you could do 2 blankets if you want. Sure. You can make any pose the way that you need for your body. The higher the blanket, you can be a little further from the wall, right? So I have 2 inches for me, so you could have 3 or 4 for you. Yeah. If you come away from the wall as you roll back, no worries actually, because it's just your body telling you that's where your body wants to go. That's just fine. And you want to arrange the prop under your pelvis so that it's flat and comfortable. That's really what's most important here. And then you turn your legs in and you turn your palms out and you widen your shoulders and you puff up your chest gently to lift the heart. And you rest the center of the head on the floor. And then you quiet your mind.
Let go of all the vigor from your practice. Slow down the rhythm of the breath. Slow down the whirlings of the mind. If there's anything that pops up in your mind, see if you can gently let it drift away from you without any attachment or commentary about the distraction. Let yourself be still. Let yourself be quiet. Let's easily bring the attention back to the surface. To come out of the pose, we can let the knees bend as the feet slide down the wall. And if you're on a sticky mat, it might be easier to just roll to either side where you have a little space. Gently coming off the blankets, manipulate as you need to, so that you can easily push the floor away and come up to sit. Don't worry about knocking anything over there, Janet. Everything's soft. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you very much. Hope you feel nice and grounded. Those standing poses are good for nice grounding practice.